Bienvenue au French Tech Podcast. Welcome to the French Tech Podcast at the second day of the Big Data World Conference here in Singapore. It's my pleasure to welcome Tomer from Optimove.
Thank you very much.
How are you, Tomer?
I'm very good. Thank you.
Could I ask you
having
to
me.
introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the Managing Director for Optimove in Asia Pacific. I'm actually new to Singapore. I came here.
Oh, really?
Only 2 months ago. I came to Singapore from Israel, Tel Aviv. Optimove is a company headquartered in Israel. Started 10 years ago. Today we have obviously offices in the US, in New York, and London, and I'm here to open the Singapore office. So yeah, it's quite exciting.
So what is it that Optimove does?
So Optimove is a leading CDP, customer data platform. Essentially, the idea of the platform is that we help brands to maximize their customers' lifetime value. So we work with e-commerce players, OTA, fashion brands, you name it. And the idea is that they use our platform to understand their customers better and then communicate with them through all the communication channels in a much more personalized fashion. It's a really innovative platform in the sense that our approach for data is very much unique. We kind of unify into a single customer view all the data, build predictive modeling, really help marketeers to gain better access to more insightful data about their customers and then action it immediately from a cross-channel communication perspective, whether it's an email, SMS, push notification, Facebook, GDN, etc. The idea is to really to be more customer-centric using our platform.
If I can translate that to less technical terms for some of the viewers, so if I understand correctly, you try to increase engagement customers with brands to increase the amount of money that they'll spend as their client, right?
In the end of the day, yes. If you think about it, gaining revenue as a brand, gaining revenue from your existing customers is the most effective revenue you can get. It has very little operational cost.
Yeah.
You don't have to acquire them again. So it really contributes to your bottom line as a brand. So we see a huge momentum around that space. And that's why we came here to Singapore.
It's one of the best ways to grow, right? Because acquisition is much, much more expensive.
Exactly. And what's also funny is that you find brands also reacquiring the same customers over and over again. So yeah, it's
That's
really
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example, my own personal experience, right? So I went to AliExpress beginning this week, and I bought a battery for my vacuum cleaner. And after I made the purchase, I went to Facebook and I get an ad for that product that I just purchased. And the question is, why is AliExpress buying an ad for something that I've just purchased? It's first of all not personalized for me, and B, it's a waste of their money. So yeah, the idea is to be more customer-centric, to be really engaging with your customers. And this is right, this is AliExpress. I'm sure they're doing a great job in personalization. And think about the smaller brands out there that don't have the technology and access to R&D researchers like AliExpress. So that's the idea. The idea is to really create a more holistic customer journey and really understand the customer, form better relationship, and come up with a more personalized engagement across all the communication channels.
I think the point that you're making of that gap between smaller brands and bigger brands is really interesting, because smaller brands spending potentially massive amounts of money on acquisition of clients that they already have, just a giant waste of money, right?
Look, it's here to stay, right? Acquisition is still an important part of the game. But what you see, and that's another interesting point that I find in Asia Pacific. So actually last week there was a report released by Google, Temasek, and Bain. And basically the report basically says that the shift in Asia Pacific today is from acquisition towards engagement.
Yes.
Brands are trying to keep their customers more on the platform, and then purchase will follow.
Right.
You see it with all the rise of the super apps, players like Grab and Gojek, trying to get you as a consumer more and more time on their platforms, on their app, on their whatever kind of platform that they have, and then purchase will follow. And that's the shift today that we see from acquisition, which is still here to stay, towards retention, engagement with customers.
And try to monetize existing customers in new innovative ways.
Yes. But first of all, it's about building the relationship, because monetization will follow for sure. But when you're really able to understand the customer, that's where I mean, think about it. where do we as consumers spend most of our time online? We spend it on Facebook. We spend it on Instagram.
2 free platforms.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, etc. And all of these platforms, Netflix, all of these platforms, all these companies, they've done a great job in personalizing the experience for us. Yes, there's privacy concerns that is being regulated more and more these days. It's very important. But in the end of the day, we get a very personalized experience. And we as consumers come to expect our brands, each brand that we interact with, to be at that level of personalization. So even second-tier brands need to get to the very high level of personalization with their consumers. And that's where CDP is becoming a huge hype in the MarTech space. We see it in the last 3 years. We as a company have been there for 10 years, but CDP has been kind of existing in the last 3 years and it's really become a demand in the RFP today by MarTech marketing organizations, if you will.
Well, she said it's all about brand loyalty and about engagement. So here in the ASEAN region, there's a lot of opportunity, right? Yeah. Giant boom, a lot of growth, a lot of e-commerce. So what's the opportunity right now, if you had to choose, that you're most excited about?
So I think e-commerce is actually is really growing very, very fast. What I found is that if you compare it to the US or the Western world, here in Asia, there's a lot of shopping festivals. So buying is always on, right? Everybody buys everything all the time, but you have so many shopping festivals, and it feels like there's always something going on, and it comes obviously with discounting and vouchers, etc. So I think that where I see a huge potential is how do you optimize your discounting, your vouchers, as a brand, right? How do you offer the right discount to the right person at the right time? And really that one-to-one communication in scale.
That's very interesting, well, especially here in Singapore, right? Yeah. It's like one shopping festival to the next. There's no seasons, but there's shopping festivals.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity there for sure.
It's a good point. Yeah. It's a good point.
So we've talked about the massive opportunities here, the things you're excited about. Is there anything that keeps you up at night? Are there any challenges that are particularly difficult?
You mean besides global warming?
Yeah.
Look, I think that the thing that really keeps me up at night is how we, as a society, as companies, as technology, really make that world a better place in terms of efficiency, right? Global warming is really an important topic, but I look at Optimove and what we do. It's really about helping brands to be more efficient and get to their goal when it comes to their communicate. The most important part, how you communicate with your customers. And I think if you look at it at scale, it's really about how we kind of eliminate those areas where we as a society kind of not focused enough and not doing a good job in being efficient. And I think that's kind of like things that I always read about and look up. And I think that, obviously the big picture is the global warming thing that I've just said.
Well, and a lot of that ties into what you were saying about the efficiency of communication, of the brand relationship.
Exactly.
And of not doing things wastefully.
Yeah. There's actually a nice quote which I recently heard, which was it came from a person called John Wanamaker. You've probably never heard of him. He was a U.S. postmaster more than 100 in the 19th century, and he said something very funny. He said, "Half of my advertising budget is wasted. I'm just not sure which half."
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and
I love that. That's fantastic.
And that was more than 100 years ago. And you think about, how the world looked like 10 years ago and the pace that we're moving. And still, marketeers today still empathize with that sentence. They don't know there's still big kind of black box for some of the organizations. And I think that's where we as marketeers need to kind of strive to get to 100% control of our communication across all the channels, understand what's happening, understand the attribution of our marketing campaigns, and become more efficient.
To get from that black box relationship to that ideal one-on-one, personalized, engaged relationship with your client.
At scale, obviously, because we are...
That's the challenge.
Yeah, exactly. Doing it for 100 customers is not...
It's easy.
It's not a problem, right? Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for being here.
I hope you're enjoying the conference.
Very much. Thank you very much.
Well, have fun at the second day.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.